Hi, my name is Miles Garrison, and I'm going to give you a little bit of a reality check today. Anyone living and working in the U.S. is paying taxes, which is honestly astonishing to me because the founders of this country came here to get away from that. So my question is, where is that money going? When you receive your pay stub, you'll notice that there's already several deductions to it before you receive the money that you've worked for. Those deductions are the federal withholding tax, Social Security, and Medicare. Now, a lot of people pay no mind to this because in all reality, there's nothing we can do at this point. But I want to give you a glimpse of how many taxes that you're actually paying. So here you are, you just got paid and you decide to go to the grocery store. The money you spend at the grocery store that has already been taxed is then taxed again when you check out. You leave the grocery store and you're driving your car that you paid taxes on when you bought it. Then after buying it, you paid another tax to get the car registered and had to get insurance to be allowed to drive it on the road that was built using the taxes that you've paid. So you're driving down the road and you look down and you realize your tank's almost empty. So you stop at the next gas station to get gas, which you're then taxed again. This is just an example of how many taxes that you pay in one day, and that only scratches the surface. So another thing that's important to know is what tax bracket you're in and why it matters. So here you see a tax bracket that gives you a pretty basic breakdown of what percentage of your paycheck is taxed based on how much money you make. Let's say you come out of college your first year and you get a pretty decent paying job making around $60,000 a year. We'll do a simple breakdown with the understanding that there's 52 weeks in a year. That means you're making about $1,150 per week, and after the government takes their 22%, it is only going to leave you with $900. And in today's economy, there's going to be times where you really could have used that $250 that was taken out of your check. So let's talk about where the money that's being taken out of your check is going. In front of you is a percentage breakdown of where the money that Americans are paying is going. You see that 13% is going to defense, and that's going to be the next topic that we're getting into today. When referring to defense, this is talking about the Pentagon, which is the Department of Defense, or otherwise known as the DoD. Something you probably haven't heard about, because they don't want you to know, is that the Pentagon has failed tax audits for the past 6 years. Now, this being said, the Pentagon had never completed an audit until 2018, meaning that they have never had a clean audit. Since 2018, between Congress and the President, they have approved $3.9 trillion in spending for the Pentagon, when they don't even know where most of the money they've given them in the past has went. So of the 3.9 trillion U.S. tax dollars that has been given to the Pentagon, only 50% of it can be accounted for. You're telling me that $1.9 trillion, and not just any dollars, money that they've taken out of your check just disappeared into thin air. And to me, this is a prime example of taxation without representation, which in the past would have started riots. Yet the reason nothing is being done about this, Congress being allowed to give them more and more money every year, is because millions of Americans have no idea that this is going on. Now, let's shift over to where some of the money that can be accounted for is going. Currently, the U.S. is funding two wars that it has no business being involved with. This would be the Ukraine-Russian War and the Israel-Palestine War. From January 2022 to January 2024, the United States has given Ukraine a total of $74.3 billion, with about $46.3 of that being military aid. Now, a lot of Americans are not pleased with this because Ukraine is not part of NATO, so we're not obligated whatsoever to send them the first dime. So why are we involved in this war? Why are we sending billions of U.S. tax dollars to fund this war? There's no simple answer to this besides the fact that U.S. leaders do not have the best interest of the American people and are pissing away billions of hard-earned tax dollars. Now, circling back, I also mentioned the war going on between Israel and Palestine. This all started with a terrorist attack by a group called Hamas that killed 1,400 people in Israel. So the U.S. already sends Israel $3.8 billion every year for funding. After the attack, Congress quickly came out with a proposal to give them additional $2 billion for defense purposes. Now, that proposal didn't last very long, and by the end of October in 2023, it had gone up to nearly $14 billion in additional funding. But there's a few controversial things that I think we need to consider while funding this war. The front of it is in Gaza, where many innocent Palestinians have grown up and lived their whole lives. This is where the majority of the Hamas terrorist group is located. Since the beginning of this war, 32,000 people in Palestine have been killed, 75,000 have been injured, and thousands are still buried under rubble. Israel has issued over 400 attacks on Gaza, destroying 26 of the 36 hospitals, leaving hundreds of thousands of people without health care. Now, to me and to many other people, this is a prime example of genocide. They've killed a multitude of innocent people, left so many people without health care, and on top of everything, there's now over 1 million people in Gaza that are starving. While Hamas deserves these repercussions for what they've done, I simply can't agree that the innocent people of Gaza do. And I'm ashamed that my country has used my tax dollars to fund this genocide. All of this being said, we've got to think about the outcomes of all of this and all of the long-term effects that come with our actions. That's about all I have to talk about today, though. Thanks for tuning in to today's episode of Where's Our Money Going?